The action comedy, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, is a comic book adaptation that has earned a cult following of young movie buffs and gamers, thanks to its quirky and stylized video game and graphic novel aesthetic. But what's so original about the film is how it cleverly reinvents the classic Hollywood musical. Director Edgar Wright purposely structured Scott Pilgrim like a traditional movie musical, but instead of old-fashioned song and dance numbers, the numbers are highly stylized fight sequences. Think West Side Story, but the gangs fight instead of pirouette. Here's the typical structure of the classic musical. It begins with the opening number and ends with a large ensemble finale. The opening number sets the tone of the movie. The next pivotal number is nicknamed the I Want song. It appears in the first act and establishes the protagonist's main goal. I want more. Near the end of the second act is the 11 o'clock number. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, you're rocking the boat. It represents an important revelation or emotional turning point for the main character. There's time for a change of heart or major realization. Here, the song acts as a kind of answer to the questions raised earlier in the I Want song. The finale reprises an earlier song, but with some bells and whistles. The modified reprise suggests a resolution to the character's journey, while bringing home the story's main themes. The subtle changes are key because they allow us to see how much the characters have changed through the events of the story and their choices along the way.
Say I do. Let's start with Launchpad McQuack.
Now let's look at the structure of Scott Pilgrim. Like in a traditional musical, most of the plot and the character development takes place during the musical numbers, or in Scott's case, during the fight sequences against Ramona's 7 exes. Scott Pilgrim's opening number is literal. This sequence introduces the main characters and establishes the film's distinctive look. The opening musical number isn't necessarily a fight, but it's physically active and expressive, and it primes us for what's to come. Scott's I Want song takes place during his first fight with Matthew Patel, one of Ramona's evil exes. Scott gets his mandate. He must fight Ramona's 7 exes in order to date her. His goal? Set. Motivation for the rest of the movie? Activated. Instead of singing, Scott's I Want song is represented by physically fighting Matthew in time with the music. In Scott's case, actions speak louder than words, as he defeats Matthew by punching him in the face. And so begins Scott's epic journey to win Ramona's love. In each fight that follows, Scott understands more about Ramona and reflects on his own life decisions. The 11 o'clock number for Scott is the Amp vs. Amp battle against the Katayanagi twins, which he loses. The battle leaves Scott at his weakest point. He drops out of the band and loses Ramona to Gideon, her most recent, most prominent ex-boyfriend. Then, in the finale, Scott fights Gideon twice, winning the second time. Like a traditional musical, the final climactic fight involves all the key characters for an ensemble reprise, which brings together the movie's central themes.
I want to fight you for me.
Scott earned the power of self-respect.
And the hero gets the girl. Most musicals tend to take place in a fantasy world, where breaking into song and dance is normal. In Scott Pilgrim's world, people break into video game-like fights without seeming out of place. Like singing and dancing, fighting is inherently physical. It's adrenaline-fueled, emotionally expressive, and stimulating. Many of Scott's fights also interweave song and dance, mixing punching and kicking with twirling and singing, creating an unlikely yet natural visual association. By mirroring the musical Hollywood extravaganza in fight format, Scott's world gets to likewise operate on an imaginary plane, where the rules of video games and comic books apply. There are character stats, points and scores, extra lives, and the ever-recognizable Versus graphic. Music from popular video games is also included, such as the Fairy Fountain theme song from The Legend of Zelda. Like in comic books, some scenes split the action into several panels. Captions and text boxes introduce characters or scenes. Onomatopoeia is used, accenting the actions and sounds with clever typography. These comic book and video game references, like the musical numbers in The Wizard of Oz, Grease, or Singing in the Rain, create a sense of unreality that allows Scott Pilgrim to experiment and conjure a vibrant, playful fantasy land where characters get an extra life and enemies burst into coins. The result, a modern take on traditional musicals and romances. Sure, love can be sentimental, but it also can be violent and competitive. Love can mean war. Ultimately, Scott Pilgrim takes advantage of the musical structure to seamlessly weave in video game gags and comic book devices, resulting in a fresh, vibrant, and energizing adventure.